This is the Pi 4.3. This is the series of tests changing out positions on actuators, positions on weights. I'm not changing the timing of the weights. I'm not changing any of that. The weights are nearly identical. And this first test, the actuators, we're measuring where the actuator position by where the mounting of the actuator is. I am using the weight that's not labeled. This one is labeled number 1, this one is not labeled. This is the one that I'm measuring everything against, so if that's the 12 o'clock position, then the mounting of this one is at 5:30. It's almost at 6 o'clock. And the mounting of this one is at 11:30, not quite 12 o'clock. So they are truly identically mounted side to side. One would think that that would give the best performance, but it does not. There's going to be a lot of different experimentation done. There's going to be a lot of different changes being made as we go along. I wanted to do this quick series of experiments to show where I stand with some of this stuff. All of these experiments are going to be made with all the settings exactly the same. So this is the first one. It really is not as impressive as I thought it was going to be. So let's watch. This is going to be a subject for debate later on, but as you could see, it would take off very quickly and then it would peter out. It was taking off quickly because it had a backstop. That is the only reason it took off as quickly as it did. I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to pull any tricks with this thing. It's entirely 100% just as you see it. There's nothing underneath. There's nothing underneath the workbench except junk and pieces and parts and metal and such. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that I am showing all experiments with this, regardless of whether they are successful or not. I am not holding anything back. There are many, many experiments that have been done that have not been successful in any way, shape, or form. So I don't want it to seem like I'm only showing the successful stuff because there's an awful lot of work being done in between that is not successful. So anyway, stay tuned. Coming up are the next videos of making some changes. This is the Pi 4.7 with 1 dead blow weight and 1 actuator. The actuator mounting is set approximately at the 5:30 position if the center stud of the planet gear is 12 o'clock. See, it gets stuck on that one spot. There we go. That's 1 dead blow weight, 1 actuator at about the 5:30 position. This is 2 actuators, 1 dead blow weight. One of the actuators, the mounting point is at about the 11:30 position, while the other is about the 5:30 position, using the center axle of the planet gear as 12 o'clock. All right, this is 2 weights and 2 actuators. The weight that's labeled number 1 is was the first one that I made, but it will be the one that's coming off in the next videos. So 2 weights, 2 actuators. Considering number 1 will be coming off, we're going to use this as 12 o'clock position. So we've got 11:30 or so at the attachment point on one actuator, and approximately 3 o'clock at the attachment point on the second actuator. This is the Pi 4.7. We're using 2 actuators and 2 dead blow weights. The dead blow weight that's labeled number 1 will be the one that's coming off for later testing. So we're going to use the one that's not labeled as number 1 as the one that we're going to measure everything against. So our actuator positions, if our axle for that planet gear is at the 12 o'clock position, the mounting for one of the actuators is at 11:30. The mounting for the other actuator is at 3 o'clock. This has been the series of tests with the Pi 4.7 with 1 weight, with 2 weights, with 1 actuator, with 2 actuators. Actuators in different positions, and as you've seen, the actuator positions make a huge difference in how the machine works. I've got it put back together right now with 2 actuators in exactly the same position as you saw in the very first video. What we're going to do next is we're going to have 2 wheels. This was really a very impressive set of tests in the fact that it would self-propel at all. I did not expect it to self-propel. I expected it to allow for less pressure to make it move, which would make it a hybrid or a helper type of apparatus. None of the others have actually moved on their own with only 1 main flywheel. So because it has, I'm going to call this an extremely successful set of experiments in the fact that it will move at all. As you've seen, my workbench is not perfect. There are blemishes in it, little ripples. It doesn't like to allow something to roll past some of them, but it is perfectly level. I have a 4-foot level that I check it with constantly. I also have an electronic level that measures down to the 100th of a minute of a degree. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that these are completely above board tests. The rolling resistance of this is extremely little, and especially once it gets moving, it loves to stay moving. I understand that a lot of people keep saying things like, well, it's not going to work in outer space because you're using wheels and they've got rolling resistance. Well, you know what? Maybe that's true. But right now, we are building this to make it work in a terrestrial vehicle. I would love to be able to see this end up working in airplanes and in the aerospace industry eventually. Right now, I am really, really gearing this towards motor vehicles with wheels on the highway. That we definitely need to reduce our consumption of fuel. We definitely need to reduce how much we spend for that fuel. So anyway, this has been that series of tests. The next test, hopefully, the very next one, you'll start seeing it with 2 wheels. I do have a second wheel made, and I have a second sun gear made. I've got to make the planet gears, and I've got to make the weights, and work has been exceptionally busy. So even my lunch hours have been cut very, very short. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Please be good to each other and stay tuned. I think we're going to have some exciting stuff happening this year.